What would you do if you were locked away for life knowing you were innocent? In the harsh walls of Shawshank, one man discovers that hope can be the ultimate escape. This story begins when the quiet town of Maine is shaken by a brutal murder, with Andy as the main suspect. Though he insists on his innocence, he's found guilty and sentenced to 2 life terms. While Andy's world darkens, Red, a seasoned inmate also convicted of murder, faces his parole hearing after 20 years. Denied once again, he returns to his role as Shawshank's unofficial smuggler, trading goods for money and watching the prison slowly harden those within its walls. When new prisoners arrive, Red and his friends bet on who will crack first under the pressure of prison life. Red bets on Andy, who seems calm but is deeply troubled inside. However, it is another inmate, an overweight man, who breaks down. He cries on his first night, catching the attention of a brutal guard, Captain Hadley, who beats him to death. This shocks Andy, though others warn him to stay out of it. A month later, Andy asks Red to get him a rock hammer, claiming it's for his hobby of shaping rocks. Red wonders if Andy might use it to escape, but Andy laughs it off. Red agrees to get the hammer, but warns Andy about the Sisters, a group of prisoners led by Boggs who attack others. Soon it becomes clear that Boggs has his eye on Andy. Over the next 2 years, Andy endures the hardships of prison, including fights with the Sisters. When a job to tar the prison roof opens up, Red helps Andy and their friends get it. One day, Andy overhears Hadley complaining about taxes on an inheritance. Using his banking skills, Andy advises Hadley on how to avoid paying taxes and offers to handle the paperwork in exchange for beers for the other inmates. Hadley agrees, and over time, Andy builds good relationships with the guards and prisoners, gaining more confidence. Later, Andy asks Red for a poster of the actress Rita Hayworth, which Red finds odd but agrees to get. Shortly after, Andy has another encounter with the Sisters. This time, he stands up to them, threatening to fight back, which scares them off. However, they still beat him badly, landing him in the infirmary. In response, Hadley punishes Boggs by beating him so severely that he is left permanently disabled and transferred to a prison hospital. Afterward, the Sisters leave Andy alone. When Andy recovers from the infirmary, Red and the others give him sculpting rocks and a large poster of Rita Hayworth. Soon after, Warden Samuel Norton learns about Andy's financial skills. During a surprise cell inspection, Norton finds Andy reading the Bible, but nothing illegal. Norton encourages Andy to keep reading, saying, "Salvation lies within." Later, Andy is assigned to work in the prison library as an assistant to Brooks Halton, an elderly inmate. In exchange, Andy helps the guards with their taxes and financial advice. He also comes up with the idea to expand the library to help other inmates. With Norton's encouragement, Andy writes weekly letters to the Maine State Senate asking for funds. Over time, he becomes so well known that even guards from other prisons come to him for financial advice during inter-prison baseball games. Andy also starts managing Norton's finances. One day, Brooks, who has served 50 years in prison, takes an inmate hostage. He is set to be released but is terrified of life outside. Andy calms him down, reminding him that there's still a world beyond the prison. Afterward, Red explains to Andy that Brooks has become institutionalized after so many years behind bars. Red says that the walls of Shawshank slowly become home. First you hate them, then you get used to them. Enough time passes, you depend on them. Brooks is eventually paroled, even though he doesn't want to leave. As he steps into the world, he is overwhelmed by the fast pace, towering buildings, and busy people. He has no family or home, and he feels lost in the outside world. He takes a job at a supermarket but struggles to keep up. Depressed and hopeless, Brooks writes, "Brooks was here, on a beam, and takes his own life." 6 years later, Andy's persistence in writing letters pays off. The prison is granted $200 and a collection of old books to expand the library. Among the donations, Andy finds a copy of Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro. While working in the warden's office, he locks a guard in the bathroom and plays the opera over the prison's loudspeakers. The music fills the air, and the prisoners, even the toughest ones, are moved by its beauty. Even the guards smile, showing the power of the music. After playing the Mozart music over the loudspeakers, Andy is punished with 2 weeks in solitary confinement. However, he remains strong, believing that hope is the key to surviving Shawshank. Soon after, Red faces another parole hearing after 30 years in prison, but he is denied again. To lift Red's spirits, Andy gives him a harmonica, marking his 30 years in Shawshank. In return, Red gifts Andy a giant poster of Marilyn Monroe to celebrate his 10 years in prison. Following the Mozart incident, Andy is granted $500 to expand the prison library. He uses the funds wisely, partnering with book clubs and charities to create Maine's best prison library, naming it after Brooks. Andy also tutors inmates working toward their high school diplomas, hoping to help them get jobs once released. Meanwhile, Warden Norton uses Andy's financial skills to enrich himself. He exploits prison labor for public projects, underbidding competitors. To hide the money, Andy creates fake accounts under the name Randall Stevens, an identity that only exists on paper. In 1965, a young man named Tommy arrives at Shawshank. He has been in and out of jail since age 13, and soon becomes friends with Andy and Red. Andy agrees to help Tommy earn his high school equivalency diploma. After months of hard work, Tommy takes the exam but throws away his answer sheet in frustration. Andy retrieves it and sends it in anyway. Later, Tommy reveals that while in another prison, a cellmate confessed to killing a golfer and his lover, framing an innocent banker for the crime. Andy realizes the banker is him. He asks Norton to reopen his case with Tommy as a witness, but Norton, fearing he will lose Andy's financial services, punishes Andy with a month in solitary. During this time, Tommy receives his diploma, but a few days later, he is killed by Hadley under Norton's orders to keep him quiet. Norton lies to Andy, claiming Tommy was shot trying to escape. When Andy refuses to launder money for Norton, the warden threatens to shut down the library. Once released from solitary, Andy confides in Red, sharing his regrets about pushing his wife away and feeling guilty about her death. He also tells Red about his dream of escaping to Zihuatanejo, Mexico, where he hopes to live a simple, peaceful life. Andy invites Red to join him someday and asks him to find something buried in Buxton, Maine after his release. As time passes, Andy returns to his work for Norton, worrying Red. Red becomes more worried when he finds out that Andy has asked another inmate for a 6-foot rope. Fearing the worst, Red believes Andy might be planning to take his own life. However, the next morning, Andy doesn't respond during roll call, and it's revealed he has escaped. A tunnel, which he had been digging for years with a small rock hammer, was hidden behind a poster. Andy had used the poster to conceal his work, slowly removing the dirt from his cell and dumping it in the courtyard during his daily walks. The night before, Andy packed up some of Norton's important documents and clothes in a plastic bag, tied to his body with the rope. After escaping, Andy visited all the banks where Norton had hidden his illegal earnings, posing as Randall Stevens, and withdrew the money. He also sent evidence of Norton's corrupt activities to a national newspaper. This caused a scandal, leading to Shawshank Prison being overrun with police and media. Hadley was arrested for Tommy's murder, and other corrupt officials were also taken into custody. Norton, unable to face the consequences of his crimes, took his own life. Justice was served, and Andy became a symbol of hope and resilience. Sometime later, Red receives a postcard from Fort Hancock, Texas. It's a message from Andy, who has made it to Zihuatanejo, the peaceful beach town he had dreamed of. Red feels both joy and sadness, happy for his friend's freedom, but missing his companionship. As he holds the postcard, Red remembers Andy's words, "Some birds are not meant to be caged. Their feathers are too bright." In 1967, Red attends another parole hearing. This time he speaks bluntly, saying he no longer cares for their decision. He acknowledges his past mistakes, expressing regret, but dismisses the idea of rehabilitation. Surprisingly, his parole is granted. Red is placed in the same room where Brooks once lived and even works at the same supermarket. He feels the same struggles that Brooks did, but resists the urge to commit a crime to return to Shawshank. Remembering his promise to Andy, Red visits the spot in Buxton where Andy had hidden something. There, he finds a box with money and a letter inviting him to join Andy in Zihuatanejo. Feeling hopeful for the first time, Red crosses the border into Mexico, leaving behind his painful past. The movie ends with Red and Andy joyfully reuniting on a beach, finally free and ready to start a new chapter of their lives together. Thanks for watching Real Recaps. If this look into one of cinema's most inspiring stories left an impact, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be the first to catch our next recap. Drop a comment with your favorite moment, or let us know which movie you'd like me to cover next. For more stories of resilience and second chances, check out the video suggestions on your screen. See you in the next Real Recap.